It's okay.
Hi. Hey, everyone. Okay. So, so how is everybody doing? Are there any questions from the last couple of weeks? Anything that you might have tried at home? Any elimination? Any introduction of anything new?
I read more products of sugar, what's on the side, and that helped me out a lot. So I stayed off a lot of products that had sugar in it. So I think I did okay.
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Excellent. So it really is, you know, reading food labels and, you know, thinking about where our grandparents or great grandparents and what they used to eat and how things have changed so much. I mean, I think even from, you know, the Coca-Cola and Pepsi and all the sugary drinks, they used to just, it used to be sugar, but now it's high fructose corn syrup, which is so toxic to the body. So, I mean, things have, not that sugar, not that it was good for you then, but just the transition in the way they process the food is creating a lot of disease and illness. And that's really thinking about what our unique bodies need, the things that we can choose to eliminate, the things that we might be able to bring in, give us the nutrients, the stress reduction, you know, better sleep. These things impact our body systemically. So if we can create an environment of healing, of supporting our unique needs, because there's so much out there about what to eat, what not to eat, what diets to do, what diets not to do.
Right.
And if there was one diet that fixed their, you know, that worked for everyone, then I wouldn't have to have, you know, we wouldn't be on this call, on this workshop. So it's noted that, you know, when we look at other people and say, oh, well, why doesn't it work for me? Well, there's a lot of reasons why it might not work for you. So to really experiment with these things and tuning into how your body feels when you don't have it. And the changes add up. So the, you know, adding in more whole foods, moving out some of these refined sugars, the additives, the additives that they put in these ingredients, dye. I think I might have mentioned it last time. So if there's any kind of food coloring in our food, it's okay, right? The FDA, I think, seems to think it's fine. But in the UK, there's a warning label that it causes hyperactivity in children. So to think of the Go-Gurts and the fruit snacks and fruit roll-ups and all these things that I know I fed my kids, I'm guilty of it. Who are, you know, these children, it can be a food sensitivity for them and cause hyperactivity. So it's a lot of things to consider. And again, if we can just eat, pluck from the ground and eat it, and not choose the things that they buy with, you know, the stuff in the grocery store, vote with our fork, we'd be much healthier as a world, in, you know, all around.
Right.
With that, I am going to, so tonight's talk is on seed oils, and seed oils are something that actually has been brought to my attention by a family member who studied nutrition. Not that I didn't know about it, but I didn't know enough about it. So in researching it and reading some of the information, it's quite interesting how they developed, because I didn't know how they came about. So we're going to talk about that now and the impact it has, again, just like sugar has on the body. What is it doing to our bodies? Our bodies are not meant to handle, they just can't equip all of these different foreign, because the body sees it as foreign, things coming in that we think is food, but it's just food-like substances. So what I will do now is share my screen. All right, so seed oils. What are they? Where are they hiding? And how are they impacting our health? So you'll see, pretty much like sugar, they are in everything. And when we see the different names and how these seed oils came about, it may change. And unfortunately, there's so much out there. I can offer a couple of things at the end, products that I've discovered, because usually in the grocery store, they are the items that you would think that are healthy. The better version should be on the shelves in the middle, not at the bottom and not at the top. That's where you will find the unique, different products. Top shelf and bottom shelf, never at eye level, because at eye level are those food manufacturers or the products that they want to sell in bulk, because they're going to make the most money with those products. I don't know why it is that we can't advertise the more healthy versions. I don't know. It's just the way the marketing goes, and unfortunately, they're keeping everyone sick because of it. Okay. So this was quite interesting. Seed oils, where did they come from? How did they come about? They are called industrial seed oils because this is when they began during the Industrial Revolution. And these seed oils are basically, when you look at ingredients, there's soybean oil, corn oil, we hear canola oil, so it's a rapeseed, they call it, cottonseed oil, and safflower seed oil. So these are seeds that they use to make these oils. Okay. The Procter & Gamble, who made our soap makers in the 1870s, originally they made their soap from pork fat, but they started experimenting and were able to make their soap from vegetable oil, specifically cottonseed oil. And cottonseed oil was something that was used as a fuel source and coined as a toxic waste. But Procter & Gamble used that fuel that they were from cottonseed oil and made a soap out of it. Now I want to think about this for a second as I was doing this even more. And what do we do with soap? We put it on our body, right? To think of soap as being toxic, that people are using on their bodies. Our skin is our largest organ. It's our mouth, our body. So we're putting something toxic that can systemically go through the skin into our bodies. And now this is started in the 1870s, which is quite a while ago that they started doing this. So it's not just the current time with the FDA or food manufacturers and marketing and supporting, big pharma and things like that. It happened way back then. They turned around, and with their big dollars, Procter & Gamble, from making their soaps, they discovered how to take these seed oils and make, they took these seed oils and they were able to put it through a cooking process called hydrogenation to make it like a solid lard. And that's where we got Crisco from. Now, they used to just cook with the lard from the animal. Now people were cooking with Crisco.
My grandmother did. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All the time.
All the jars of Crisco.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Pie crust, everything. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So here it is. It's considered it's toxic, and they've created something that everyone's using. It's cheaper. They can use it in their cooking. They stopped using butter and lard, which, believe it or not, is the healthier version for us. And so the process actually of where it comes just from the seed and how they extract the oil is where it becomes real toxic to our bodies. So they heat the seeds to extreme high temperatures, which then oxidizes, right? And it becomes rancid. And in order to eliminate the smell of it, it smells, they have to steam it. And they also bleach it and deodorize it and put it through this horrendous process. It actually can create the trans fats in the oil, which are harmful to us. And then they add some coloring in there to make it look halfway decent. This is how it came about from the Industrial Revolution, because it was cheaper. They said it was equivalent to animal fat for a fraction of the cost. So between 1909 and 1999, there was a 20-fold increase in the consumption of seed oil. I mean, just think about it. And they didn't have, the advertising wasn't back then the way it is today. Could you imagine if we had the advertising back then? So what is it doing? What are all of these processed oils doing to our body? Here, okay. Whoops. Hold on, I am messing everything. Okay. There. So if you can remember all the, you hear it on the news over the years, newspapers and articles and stuff, but saying that how, vegetable oil is good. It's good for our hearts. That we need to stop eating lard and butter and animal fat because it's bad for our hearts. And Procter and Gamble were able to support a small group of cardiologists at the who were part of the American Heart Association with funds promoting the fact that vegetable oil was healthy for us. And then there was a researcher who then also produced data saying that saturated fat from animal causes heart disease, but eating margarine and these seed oils reduce heart disease. So now the belief is saturated fat truly is bad for me. It clogs my arteries. I should not eat it. It's only in the last, and I put here 8 years, that now researchers are looking into the negative impacts that the oils have on our heart, along with other major organs in our body. Right. So of course we know that these studies are done on animals, specifically rodents. So in the 1940s, there was a study done where they heated linseed, which is what gives you canola oil, corn and soybean oil, and they found it to be toxic in rats. They developmentally suffered. They had diarrhea, their livers enlarged, ulcers, heart damage, and they died prematurely. So now we're coming into, 2014 is recent, right? There's no overall benefit in health from reducing saturated fats or increasing consumption of polyunsaturated fatty acids. So, and that's all your seed oil, right? So now they're saying they're not showing an overall health benefit to eliminating saturated fat and increasing seed oils. They did a study in 2016 that found, and we hear them say that puffers reduced blood cholesterol levels. Okay, it reduced blood cholesterol, but it also increased the risk of death by 22%. Right. So when you hear, you know, because it can get confusing, polyunsaturated, saturated, monounsaturated, there's a lot of terms we'll talk about in a little bit, but that can confuse individuals as to, well, what exactly should I be eating, right? But soybean oil is the highest consumed of all these oils. If you, over the next week, before next week, go through the cabinets now and look to see, and often I forget to bring my glasses, I forget how tiny some labels are in the grocery store. And I will miss one because labels are really tiny. And if it's got a lot of ingredients, the writing's even smaller, it's microscopic. But to really look and see how many products are in the cabinets, from granola, from just granola to bread, to salad dressings, to just everything. You name it, it's in everything. Just like sugar. Okay. So try to get, so you guys can see, where are all these oils hiding, right? So they're in everything. And to see that the average consumption, just like fructose, sugar, white sugar, the consumption of soybean oil, just soybean oil, went from 4 pounds per person per year to 26 pounds per person per year, which is huge. It's a huge amount of oil. And it's not because we're choosing to use it and put it in our food. It's in the processed food that's in the grocery store already. And we know what they look like, right? All of these bottles, the Crisco, Mazola oil, they are all on our shelves. Okay, so this is just like an example of a food label and the additives that are in it. As you can see, soybean oil is mayo. That's what it's made with. Of course, sugar, and then these additives that they have in it that actually are harmful to the body. And Whole Foods has cited some of these additives as unacceptable in food. They don't carry it on their shelves. So you know, to think about how we can make our own vegetable, our own mayonnaise, if that's what we choose to have, is using avocado oil versus soybean oil. So avocado oil, olive oil can be replaced in things as opposed to but because soybean oil is just so much cheaper to package with, that's why they choose those. So choosing products with olive oil or avocado oil in it are more expensive. But what would we choose to do? Do we want to pay up front a little and save on the back end of what we may be paying the doctor for certain ailments that we may develop due to some of these foods? Right? So we, of course, French fries. Now, they are probably one of the most unhealthy foods coming from a fast food place that is taking I'm sorry. Oh, I knew that. I was trying to see. My problem with this slide is I can't see everything. Okay. French fries. So what they do with the oil, right? In a fast food place, it's in an oil fryer. The more times the oil is heated, the more toxic it becomes. So we're soaking the French fries in the oil that keeps getting repeatedly heated. I can't believe it's not butter, right? So here we are, here's a label saying, this is heart healthy, 0 calories, 0 fat, 0 trans fat. This is the spray one per spray. So remember what I said, if it's 0.5 or under, 0.5 grams or under of trans fat, they can list it as 0 trans fat. But in here, it's not, because it's not butter, right? It's soybean oil.
Hmm.
They made this with soybean oil. And they, you know, amongst all of the other additives that are in here. Right? Here's something that's touted to be healthy. Kind bars. Okay. 5 grams of sugar. Great, right? Usually I say less than 5 grams or less of sugar. You want, you know, if that's what the product says with 1 serving, great. It's protein. What are our ingredients in it? They have soybean protein isolate, palm kernel oil. So here's that oil again amongst and soy lecithin. Okay, so even though it sounds healthy, and I'm not even worried so much about the fat, because you know it's coming from the polyunsaturated fat is coming from your palm kernel oil, but the monounsaturated fat is coming from your nuts, which is a little bit better for you. But again, it's still being made with palm kernel oil. Peanut butter drives me crazy. Can anybody tell me why they have to put in so many different ingredients? It should just be peanuts. Right, here we go. Smuckers, peanuts. That's it. They ground the peanuts. They get the oil to the top. There's no added sugar. There's total 2 sugars, and the 2 sugars come from the peanuts themselves. And yes, it's got 16 grams of fat for 2 servings of 2 tablespoons. However, again, if we want to reduce a little bit in the amount of fat, okay, we have 1 tablespoon, but we're still not eating the processed oil or sugar that could have been in there versus the reduced fat, skippy, creamy peanut butter. Again, we take out all the flavor from the fat and put back in artificial ingredients, hydrogenated vegetable oils. And here it has cottonseed, soybean, and rapeseed. So it has 3. And it actually has, even though it's maybe lower in fat, only by 4 grams, you have 16 grams and 4 grams, right? It's added 2 more grams of sugar into it, even though they, just to give it some kind of flavor, right? So to pay attention to the 2 different ingredients, and of course, natural peanut butter, they never have on sale, is going to be a little more expensive, but taste-wise and health-wise, it's actually better. And because it's Girl Scout season, I pulled these, their peanut butter patties and their tag-alongs, and to see again all of the different between the sugar, the palm kernel oil, soybean oil, cottonseed oil, hydrogenated palm oil. I mean, they say it in 10 different ways, and it doesn't matter. They're all added to something that is just not as healthy. You know, let's see, there's 2 cookies. You know, you have 8 grams of sugar, saturated fat is 5 grams, and the tag-alongs, do they have? I don't even know what they have. Oh, they have some peanuts in it. So you're getting some monounsaturated fats there. The peanut butter patties. Now it's funny. Oh wait, yeah. So you think, oh wow, peanut butter, maybe there's some protein in there. No, there's only 2 grams of protein, but we have high fructose corn syrup and our vegetable oils, vegetable shortening, palm oil, the hydrogenated palm kernel, cottonseed, soybean. So they're taking everything along with high fructose corn syrup and putting them into these cookies. And so why should we remove seed oils from our food choices, right? Omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids, we'll talk about them in a few minutes. Omega-3 is good for us, right? We hear it, we eat fish oils. Omega-3 is found in walnuts, in our nuts, and some seeds, and even in some vegetables. But omega-6 is the problem. We do need a balance of the 2, but omega-6, which is we're getting too much of. Seed oils oxidize easily and they become rancid, and that leads to inflammation in the body. Okay, we have a lot of harmful additives, as we brought up before. And you guys just mute your phones for a second, just while this is taping, and then we'll open it up for questions later. They are derived from genetically modified crops, which these crops have been altered. Their DNA has been altered, so they're not as disease fighting as they were before. And that actually genetically modified ingredients. Let me just see something. Hold on. I'm just going to mute everybody. Okay. Just till we're done, because it is taping. Let me just go back. All right. Seed oils have been repeatedly heated, like I said before, and the more heated they are, the more toxic they are to the body. So think about those restaurants that keep reusing the same oil to make fried foods. It becomes carcinogenic in the body, which is what? Cancer causing, right? So we can choose the foods. We have our DNA, but what we put into our body pretty much can be the trigger to setting off some of the things in our body through our DNA. Okay, so like I said before, the consumption has increased dramatically of these oils, and the body's just not designed to handle it. It's just not. So we have, omega-6 fatty acids contribute to inflammation in the body, but we need a little bit of it, right? We do need a balance of each, and anti-inflammatory. So omega-3 is anti-inflammatory. But where it should be, as far as a ratio and what we're getting into our bodies, is 3 to 1. But where we are today, it averages anywhere from 10 to 20 to 1, which contributes to inflammation in our bodies, which is the precursor to disease. So the polyunsaturated fats in seed oils, they're unstable. And we said this before, they oxidize, resulting in trans fats. Now we can get trans fat from eating whole grass-fed animal eggs and things like that, animal protein, but it's not oxidizing. It has not become rancid in the body. It's what they do in the process of making these products that create the trans fats that are now rancid and enter our bodies, which it can be a contributor to cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. Okay, so seed oils are they're full of synthetic antioxidant additives. So if you look at ingredients and you see BHT, BHA, these ingredients, and sometimes even on cereal boxes, let's say high in antioxidants, right? So we think we are eating something healthy because antioxidants help the body. It's what fights disease, right? Well, if we're getting it from fruits and vegetables, dark leafy greens, nuts and seeds, black beans. So the thing is that the darker the fruit or vegetable, the bean, it's higher in antioxidants. That's an antioxidant, not the synthetic antioxidants that they do put into these foods. And they disrupt our endocrine system, which is our hormone, and can lead to a disruption of our immune system, causing the body to possibly develop some food allergies over time, right? These are things that happen over time, not overnight. It's decades of consumption. I said this again, I do apologize. So this is leading to stress in the body and inflammation, oxidative stress. Did not realize I put that in 2 spots. Sorry, guys. Okay. All right, so what else imbalance have they caused in the body? Asthma, heart disease, autoimmune mental and cognitive health, depression, anxiety, Alzheimer's. There's a list here. These are just some of them, right? And it doesn't just target one thing, like we go, okay, it's going right to the heart. Well, or it's going right to, it's causing, me to feel joint pain, osteoarthritis. Well, if there's something that is disrupting our immune system, creating some kind of food sensitivity, which can cause inflammation in the body, which then can cause some arthritis in the joints. So there's a very systemic process, and everything's interconnected. It's not just one thing or the other. But it's things that can develop over time for various reasons, right? We're just talking about food. There are many other things that can add to this as well. Okay, so we want to really avoid these seed oils as much as possible. And that is going through the pantry, going through the refrigerator, and looking. And put it all on the counter and take a picture. Send it to Teresa, have her send it to me, or we'll look, we can talk about them next week. It really is about not eating these processed foods, voting with your fork and not buying them. And you might say, well, where can I, what am I going to replace some of this stuff with? And it goes down to the old-fashioned way that maybe our great-grandparents or great-great-grandparents did. So basic, especially with like salad dressings. Some lemon juice from a lemon, squeezed lemon, olive oil or avocado oil, a little bit of Dijon mustard, swish it together, salt and pepper, and it makes a great dressing. You can use any kind of vinegar, balsamic, apple cider vinegar, whatever your flavor is, white balsamic vinegar. There's all different kinds of vinegars, and really experimenting with the different flavors. And the taste of the salad may be better. Even taking lemon juice actually helps the absorption of iron from, just say you're having spinach salad, or there's spinach in your salad, dark leafy greens. It helps the iron absorption in the body. And because iron is hard to absorb in the body. So some lemon juice squeezed on it synergistically works with the iron in the spinach. So we can create our own way of our own food and these toppings and stuff, and make it so our health benefits from it. Avoiding animals that are farm factoried. So looking for more of the grass-fed versus the ones that are eating grain and corn. They too are eating stuff that could be toxic to them. Grains are toxic to them. They don't eat grains, they eat grass. So what are we doing to their immune system and to their endocrine system? And how is that altered by the time the meat's being delivered to the grocery store? Now, to talk about a little bit about fat, right? Because we don't want to eliminate fat. We need fat in our diets for survival. It's what it uses for energy. It's important for your immune function. It's important for our to insulate internal organs, and that's a healthy way of doing it, right? Regulating your body temperature, maintaining healthy skin and hair. People who complained about having some dry skin, there could be a multitude of reasons, but how much omega fat are they truly getting in their diet? And is it the inflammatory omega-6, or is it the omega-3s from salmon, the high-fat fish that are okay to eat because we benefit from it? And then we do need a healthy fat, because if you are taking any kind of supplements, vitamins, they should be taken with food, especially with something that has fat content in it. That's how it gets absorbed into our body. So there are different fats, and it can get confusing, the different types, and what ones do we choose and which ones should we stay away from. So those PUFAs, the polyunsaturated fats, those are all those seed oils. Those are the ones we really need to stay away from. Trans fats, we know from processed foods, are causing the clog of arteries, not necessarily from the grass-fed meat and poultry that we're eating. So saturated fats, again, are just from lard and butter. And it's true butter. And there's also something called ghee, which is clarified butter, that they actually take out the lactose. So if someone is lactose intolerant and doesn't use butter, you can actually use ghee, which does not need to be refrigerated. It has the highest heat point, so you can use it to cook without worrying about it turning rancid. And it gives a nice flavor to food, which is what we want when we're eating our food, because we're more satisfied when we have flavor, as opposed to the processed foods that have stripped the fat out of it so they can replace it with all the junk. Monounsaturated fats are your olives, avocados, nuts, things like that. And they've shown to help reduce LDL triglycerides and help increase the HDL. So inflammation in the body is brought down and blood pressure is brought down. Again, everything in balance. Always, even some good stuff, too much of a good thing could be bad too. So it's about balance, trying to get various things into our diets. You're not going to get everything in every day, but over the course of a week, just looking at the different things that you could incorporate. And then the polyunsaturated fats, your omega-6 and omega-3s. So the omega-6s are those processed industrial feed oils. It can be found in meat, but again, we're getting most of it from the processed foods with the oils in it. And your omega-3 is where we find it in cold water fish, right? So salmon, mackerel, sardines, these are all the different ones that do have omega-3 in them, nuts and seeds. And then your trans fats, they can be produced in the body naturally. It's when we introduce artificial trans fats that cause the oxidative stress and inflammation. So to touch on the omega-3, the EPA and the DHA, so how I remember which one works best for what is like EPA. And when you pick out a product, you're going to see different amounts of EPA on it and DHA, different ratios. But the ratios, just the EPA helps with things like joint inflammation. And then we need fat for our brain too. It's omega-3, when they say essential fatty oil, because that means the body does not produce it, it does not make it, it does not store it. You eat it, it does what it needs to do, and then it goes. We constantly need for it to be replenished in a certain way. So the EPA, like I said, is more for joint, and the DHA, how I remember that was just the word duh for our brain. Like, so, and it helps bring down inflammation in the body, which is what we want. Okay. All of these things and why we need healthy fats, and to think about when things started to go amiss in the early 90s, when everything was fat free. All these products low fat, as you can see, the reduced fat peanut butter has all of these additives to make it taste like something. So we need fats to live. Every living creature needs it, and it protects your cell membranes from the outside world. It helps transport cholesterol to the various tissues. Cholesterol is needed. It's a master hormone in the body. It transports our hormones, our other hormones, our sex hormones. Cholesterol is needed. Cholesterol can fall so low on an individual that it actually becomes detrimental to their health. So keeping cholesterol, obviously not too high, but within a range that is good for your body. Fat is needed for brain health, mental health, helps the eyes. Walnuts are a big one for eye health, skin and hair, hormones and fertility. Like I said, you need these fats for these things. Often women, if someone has a eating disorder, there's anorexia involved. If the person is too low weight, there's no fat on the body. It impacts hormones and fertility. Your gut, your microbiota, your microbiome, it needs healthy fats. And fiber. Your microbiome these organisms make vitamins for you. That's why it's important to have healthy gut, good gut health. It helps regulate blood sugar, because when we eat something that has a healthy fat, it slows down the absorption of sugar into the body, into the bloodstream. We need it for energy, and it buffers us from toxicity, from an environment that if there's environmental toxins around us. Right? So we need them to function. And so what types do we want to eat, right? Extra virgin olive oil is great for our salads, for very light saute, nothing with too high heat, because it does become toxic. Coconut oil, that also can be used. You can use it on your skin if you want to avoid any kind of any other products, beauty products that are toxic to our body, with a lot of additives, BPA and all that stuff. Parabens, I'm sorry. And it's considered antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial in properties. There's some great properties. So you can use that to lightly saute foods. It adds if you like coconut, it adds a flavor of coconut to it. Butter and ghee. And again, ghee is one of the ones that has the highest heat point. Use that for cooking. Pastured lard, right? Duck fat, that things that they used to use way back when. And then eating raw fat, nuts, seeds, avocado, all of these things are great ways to get in those essential fats that are not going to be harmful to us. And Dr. Kate, she's a functional medicine doctor that has done a lot of talks and things. And so this is like her recommended also oils, what's good, what's not good, what's okay, what we should limit. But as you can see on the don't eat bad fats, polyunsaturated, which are our seed oils, because they're refined, they're bleached, they're deodorized, they're trans fats in our in the foods, processed foods, along with these here. So you can look in protein bars, salad dressings, granola, chips, right? They all have these seed oils in them, all of them. And then, like, you know, on this side with cooking, right? So you want to be careful with, because you can cook with these, you just don't want to go too high heat under walnut oil, flax oil. And then the ones with all purpose, right? So here on the left hand are the ones that macadamia nut oil, I would assume that one is cocoa butter, coconut oil, almond oil. So again, you can see that there's a good amount to choose from. We just really need to look as far as cooking. So the key is to cook as much as we can at home. I know many people over the last 2 years with the pandemic experimented with cooking more, eating more at home, not so much fast food, although I think things are starting to pick up in the restaurants again. And getting back to just basics and finding things that don't have these particular oils in them. Okay, and that's it. So, and this was doing this presentation, I learned a lot. Now I'm going to dive more into it now that I've exposed so much of it. But it comes down to, again, really just thinking about what's on those labels, looking, scrutinizing, and saying no to some of the stuff that our bodies don't need. Are there any questions?
No, I don't think so.
A little different than sugar. Well, the same message is the same as sugar, right? Try to avoid
Really
it.
have to go through my pantry now and get rid of the oil. I use olive oil a lot to saute stuff. I thought it was healthy.
It's healthy as long as it doesn't get too hot, right? So if you're really going to heat something up, again, the ghee is one of the ones that does, that's the highest heat point.
Okay.
And it's quite flavorful. It's again, there was a time that fat-free time in the 90s, and I know, like I said, I did everything in my power to avoid anything with fat in it because I thought it would make fat. And it's quite the opposite, right? It's the sugar, it's these processed oils that are just disrupting the balance, the natural way the body's supposed to work. And it's the marketing and what's out there to make us think that these things are healthy. We've looked for organic stuff. I did find there's something called Primal Kitchen. Stop and Shop. Uncle Giuseppe's has more of them, but they're not cheap. But their ingredients are made with avocado oil. They have an avocado oil mayo, ketchup, dressings, and then there's another. Yeah, there's another Bob. I'm sorry, not Bob Redmill. Bragg's, BRAGG''S. Again, these things are sporadic in the shelves, so you have to really look for them in order to get them. And I will tell you, even going to Trader Joe's, a lot of their products have these oils in them. They don't have avocado or olive oil, soybean, canola, which is disheartening, right? Because we're going to Trader Joe's to think that some of their products or most of their products are healthier versions of what we're finding in the grocery store.
Right.
But it still can be very nifty. So Bragg's has a salad dressing. Now I've been making my salad dressing all summer with just the lemon juice.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of olive oil or avocado oil, salt, pepper, Dijon mustard. I mean, even if you took like a half a teaspoon of maple syrup just to give it that sweetness, if you wanted that, like a half a teaspoon, just to, it's so much easier. But Bragg's has a salad dressing now. Again, none of these oils, you don't need to refrigerate it. It just it's made with avocado oil. And because it's, it's like $5, but it goes a long way. And that's something, if you need to purchase a salad dressing, but it's awareness. It's seeing that how they're manufacturing food because it's cheaper this way. But unfortunately, it's making people sick over time. Remember that. It's over time. So eliminating sugars here and there and eliminating these oils and maybe not now, maybe not in a year from now, but maybe in 2 years from now, things such as the triglycerides dropped in your lab work, or the LDL came down a bit, HDL got a little better, you know, so it's tuning into these things with a medical provider, especially if they say, oh, look at that, keep doing whatever you're doing, you know, you're showing improvement. It may not mean that any movement came on the scale, but physiologically and how this your body is working, maybe sleeping better, maybe you have less indigestion, maybe you have more energy, like to take note of things as you go through making changes and to see how they add up and they can truly impact your body's your longevity for good, for the better issue.
It's funny because I was using Wesson corn oil for years to make chicken cutlets. I mean, I was raised that way and just always, and now corn oil is not good for you. So I have to find something else. So it's okay though. Yeah, it was very interesting about corn oil.
Yeah, all of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, because they advertised lower cholesterol and everything like that on it. So I thought that was okay. Yeah.
Right. And if you see what like, I don't know, I might have gone too fast, but if you, and I don't know if I elaborated on it too much, but with the American Heart Association, if the correlation of how now they promoted these seed oils of being healthier for your heart,
Yeah.
because Procter and Gamble gave them some money, right, and supported their mission. And so, and if you go on their website, they're still saying the same darn thing. They're still saying it.
Wow.
Not to you know, there's research out there and they're there for a reason, and not all information is bad. I'm not saying that, but to look where the source is coming from and why, and what's backing that that particular source.
Right.
You know, even Coca-Cola has, when I was taking a nutrition course and I had to do an essay, a research paper on different websites, Coca-Cola has their own wellness website, like to talk about how Coca-Cola was okay. I was like, oh,
Wow.
okay. You know, so it's reading between the lines.
Okay, great.
All right.
Very
Any other
interesting.
questions?
No.
Alrighty.
Nope.
So I will see you guys next week. And like I said, let me know how things go if you check some things out in your pantries and you check some things out in the grocery store.
Okay.
Don't get frustrated. Laugh at it.
Yeah.
Just laugh at it.
All right. Okay.
Take your
Thank
power
you.
back. All right. Have a
Okay.
good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.